Thank you all for being here on what is a little bit of a chilly day for Albuquerque. Not too bad. I'm Augusta Myers, and I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker who is going to make this major announcement. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Dr. John C. Fleming is the Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development, and he is responsible for fulfilling the agency's mission of leading the federal economic development agenda. A four-term U.S. Congressman from Louisiana, Dr. Fleming is also a physician whose public career includes medical services in the U.S. Navy. Prior to joining the Department of Commerce, Dr. Fleming served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, overseeing technology modernization efforts. Please help me welcome the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development, Dr. John C. Fleming.
Thank you and good morning. I didn't realize you had this cold of weather in New Mexico. So coming from Louisiana, my blood is a little thick. No, I should say a little thin, actually, when it comes to cold weather. Well, thank you, Augusta, for that kind introduction. And it's great to be with you here. And everybody's very hospitable and very friendly, and we thank you for that. Of course, it helps to bring $1.2 million. You get a very nice reception. And it's a pleasure to meet you, Mayor Keller. It's an honor to meet you today and to see what a great job you're doing for this fine city. I come representing Wilbur Ross, Secretary of the Department of Commerce, with my colleagues here today, and the Trump administration. And we're very excited to fulfill the President's initiatives on America First agenda, which prioritizes American jobs, American workers, and American industry. Since the President took office, we've had the longest economic expansion in this nation's history. The administration has created along with the private sector, 6.7 million jobs since his election, nearly 500,000 in the manufacturing sector alone. Unemployment is at a historic low. It's the lowest it's been since 1969, the year I graduated from high school. If that matters to you, a bit of trivia. Also, the stock market is the highest it's ever been, and it's sustained that level for quite some time. So we're working together with you today to support your locally developed strategies, and we've heard a lot about your strategies, talking about what you're trying to do here with the old rail yards. I'll mention parenthetically that my grandfather was a railroader. He was a brakeman and an engineer back in the day. We're talking the 1920s, of course, and was a colleague of Jimmy Rogers, who actually is the father, considered to be the father of country music. And that's way back in Mississippi, where I grew up originally. Today, I'm excited to be at these rail yards. It brings back a lot of memories for me. And I would like to make an announcement. Can I have a drum roll? There's no drum? Oh, there we go. Okay, very good. I would like to announce on behalf of the U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration is investing $1.2 million in the city of Albuquerque to provide water, sewer, streetscape, it's hard to say this in cold weather, streetscape infrastructure, as well as, I believe, broadband too, right, Dennis? Right, conduit for broadband. So with this announcement, you may applaud. Woo! All right. So as we've seen in the movies, including Transformers and the Avengers, which I haven't watched, but I'm sure my kids and grandkids do, this site has been featured in the film industry, as I understand it. Appropriately, the site, once redeveloped, will house Central New Mexico Community College's Film Production School of Excellence. This will help Albuquerque expand its film production sector while attracting retail, office, restaurant, and hospitality businesses. Importantly, EDA's investment will be matched with $1.2 million in local funds, representing significant buy-in from the community. We love to see skin in the game. We find that these projects work when the city or the local foundations, the community itself, matches our investment. But there's more to come. This is expected to create more than 300 jobs and generate $9 million in private investment. Now, why is that important? Because if you think about it, the whole purpose of the Economic Development Administration is to catalyze private sector investment. So we sort of help shore up the infrastructure problems that happen in communities so the private sector can come in and they can make things happen. In fact, over the history of EDA, for every $1 of taxpayer money we invest in these projects, we get $15 of private capital investment in return. So you can see this is a tremendous return on investment and a very wise use of money. Now, the mayor asked me a moment ago, well, if you're a doctor, what in the world are you doing leading the Economic Development Administration? And my answer was, I ask myself that every day. I loved practicing medicine. I was a family physician, still am. In fact, I'm still licensed and insured, and if you have a sore throat or something, I'll be happy to talk with you afterwards.
After today, we will.
Yeah, after today, that's for sure. But enjoyed practicing medicine, but during those years, I also created a number of businesses and real estate projects and really enjoyed doing that. And so it was really an honor to be selected by President Trump to lead his Economic Development Administration. There's something else you need to know about. Let's go back to the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act that was passed, and along with the taking down 3-to-1 of rules and regulations in our executive branch. The president has stimulated the economy to unprecedented levels. You heard me talk about that, and I gave you the metrics just a moment ago. But there is one truism in all of this, and that is, even though with a rising tide, boats do rise, some boats are left behind. No matter how strong the economy is, if there is zero or near zero energy, economic energy, in a community or a part of an economic community, then it will not rise with the rest of the economy. And so our congressmen and senators were very wise to add to the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act something called opportunity zones. That's tax preferences for investments into census tracts that have high unemployment levels and low economic activity. And it's my understanding that while this is not an opportunity zone, it is close to 2 of them, and that's okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be an investment into an opportunity zone, because we can bring all of these things together. But why is this important? Well, you heard me say that we're able to realize $15 of private capital investment for every dollar we invest. And we have added to our priorities investment into opportunity zones. So applications that are for opportunity zones, by definition, get higher consideration. So we predict that in the future, that 15-to-1 ratio will increase to 30-to-1, 50-to-1, 100-to-1, perhaps 1,000-to-1, because projects like this are springing up all across the country, mainly spurred by opportunity zones. But it doesn't stop there. We have challenged state governments, state governors, to add to this, to create a stack of economic incentives, because remember that opportunity and zone investments do not in any way exclude other types of tax preferences. So, for instance, Governor DeWine in Ohio has signed into law a 10% tax credit for investments within opportunity zones. And other states have, in fact, New Mexico, Governor Grisham, unveiled a program offering a $1 million bonus to investments that meet certain benchmarks in opportunity zones. So, Mayor, I will challenge you. We're asking cities to do likewise. So we hope that you'll, and I think your presence here today shows us where you're at on opportunity investments. So before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge and thank some folks here today. First of all, Dewey Cave and Mid-Regional Council of Governments. Where are you, Dewey? Oh, there you are. Yes, sir. Just met Mr. Cave. Let's give him a hand. Also, I'd like to thank Central New Mexico Community College President Kathy Winograd for her participation here today. Where? Oh. She's not here. Okay. You know, sometimes my staff, they'll put, will thank so-and-so for your introduction, and then they'll swap at the last minute, and I thank the wrong person for introducing me. I try to avoid that. It didn't happen this time, though, Augusta. But, well, anyway, we'll say hello to her in absentia. Also, representatives, whom I did meet today, from Senator Udall and Heinrich's offices. Where are you? Right here. Okay. I'd also like to recognize some important members of the EDA team from the regional office, which is represented in Austin. First of all, Jessica Falk is an area director in EDA's Austin office. Where are you, Eric? Way in the back. Jessica, I mean. And then Tricia Corbus is our economic development representative for New Mexico. Here we go, Tricia. And really, I don't have to introduce you to them because they've been working with you all along, and that's what's so important about what we do. EDA, which is unique among many agencies throughout this administration, is decentralized into 6 regional offices, and they in turn connect with 392 economic development districts that cover most of the United States. What's important about that is so much connective tissue we have, so when these grants are applied for, we know what's going on in your communities, and we have the right people making the right decisions on those things. We've also added some additional things that I think is important to note today. First of all, we require all 392 economic development districts to have what's called a CEDS, C-E-D-S, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And we require our economic development districts to plan to succeed. And we're currently updating them to include opportunity zone legislation and the tax preferences that go with that. We also have what's called economic development integrators in all 6 of our offices, and they have the important role to sort out and make sure that the applications for the right types of grants go to the right place. Some of them should go to USDA and other agencies and departments. We try to make sure that happens, and we're sort of adding muscle to that now so we can also work both with the governor's offices as well as the private sector to do more coordination when it comes to economic development. And then finally, we are putting together, we'll soon roll out a interactive computer tool where you'll have a map and you can put the cursor over any part of the country and you'll be able to see what type of economic development activity is ongoing, particularly with regards to opportunity zones. So we want to make sure this information gets out to anyone who's interested who may want to engage and be involved in that. And I'll also say parenthetically that what we're really seeing across the country is not only the engagement of the communities in economic development and in some cases difficult and low energy economic communities, but we're seeing philanthropists, Carnegie Mellon, Heinz, and many others engaging as well and bringing on private investors, which makes, I think, for a great P3 public partnership type of environment. So in conclusion, and on behalf of President Trump and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, I want to wish you the best of luck in this project, and we look forward to working with you, and we'll definitely be keeping track of what you're doing. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. The next person I'd like to bring up is obviously someone who has very big vision for this area and has been a stalwart supporter of the redevelopment efforts here at the rail yard. He is the 35th mayor of the city of Albuquerque. Please help me welcome Mayor Tim Keller.
So this is great to get the gang back together as I look in this audience, we know we have been on this journey, some of us, for a long time with respect to trying to do what we can for this facility, but also for those of us in our administration, renewed effort to move much faster and much more deliberately in terms of activating this entire area of our city and our state. So I'm going to try and keep my remarks brief because I think we've all heard the story of the rail yards. We do have some visitors, so I do want to do a quick refresher on this facility. But and then first and foremost, let me just say thank you. I don't know how to formally address you as Mr. Secretary or Doctor, but thank you so much. This means a lot to our city and to our community. Let's give him one more round of applause and his team. So this area in many ways is a symbol, I think, of our entire city and in many ways the state of New Mexico. It's a reflection of a tremendous story, a history that we all love to recall and to celebrate. And this particular area essentially was the foundation of modern Albuquerque. So when we became that sort of territorial era, when the train was coming in all the way through to statehood, this location and the fact that this rail yard was here actually built all of the neighborhoods around us. So from San Jose across the tracks to Martineztown to Bareilles, many of these, actually not Martineztown, but Bareilles and San Jose, these were essentially workforce housing for everyone who worked here. And for us, of course, as time and technology went on, the decay of this facility in many ways also symbolized a lack of investment and a lack of revitalization into some of our most cherished traditional neighborhoods. These are also neighborhoods that are in many ways the foundation of who we are as, we believe, one of the most uniquely diverse cities in America. And for us to have this space beginning to be revitalized is, I think, in many ways a symbol of our city being lifted up, and by extension our state being lifted up to our future in terms of what we are going to be for the next generation. And that is going to be a whole lot different, I believe, than an empty warehouse. So where you are is essentially an industrial cathedral, we like to refer to it as, which, as you mentioned, has been heavily utilized from farmers markets to movie studios and so forth. But we tried to develop this. We tried to get the private sector in on this. And what happened is exactly what you articulated, that this grant program is so important to fix, which is that no private company was going to invest in all of the infrastructure. And they would tell us in all of these meetings, they'd say, well, when are you going to fix up the water and the plumbing and the electricity and the security and the streetscape and bring in broadband? And we'd be like, well, I thought that's what you were going to do, and we kind of had this discussion for like 6 years. And then finally we decided, we have to do this, right? In any way you look at it, the responsibility, for better or worse, in many ways, to restore a lot of these properties, the responsibility of that infrastructure is in many ways government's. But there's a return on that responsibility, and you articulated that very well. We do believe that if we can build out the infrastructure and make this a leasable, occupied space, it's actually going to be an economic benefit and a community benefit. And we are so fortunate because we have our first tenant, mostly lined up. And so C&M has been a tremendous partner. And so for us, knowing that we have a tenant in waiting is all the reason we need to add to the funds that you're providing us. And we've got you about 10 to 1 in terms of matching. So I think in total we'll be at about 10 million that we're bringing in here from the city perspective. So we're not only partners, we're in it with you 10 times over. And I also want to mention, too, I know Samantha's going to speak in a little bit. Dr. Winograd is being roasted right now at Economic Forum. So she had to make a key choice there, and she's retiring. And so, in fact, half of us just came from that event. But it was important that she stayed since the whole town was roasting her. So I think she made the right choice. But she is going to be with us, not only through her staff and the new administration on this project, I know for years to come. Now, a couple of other things that I just want to close on. I really appreciate that our secretary mentioned opportunity zones. This is, I also believe, a tremendous win for not only America, but also Albuquerque. And I do want to let folks know, now we also have invested in actually someone to work on this. So Monica Mitchell is here with Scooter. She is the personification of our investment in opportunity zones and has beat you to your map. So while you challenged us to $1 million in that capital stack, we're going to challenge you to catch up to our map that lists all the incentives, including yours, that she already finished doing. So take a look at Albuquerque's incentive map, which is a really cool thing, but no doubt will be an asset for our whole country when you guys finish that. So you can tell whoever's working on that, like, Albuquerque's already done, so just upload her map. Lastly, too, this is something we're going to be working on in the long term with respect to opportunity zones. So stay tuned for more on that. And we do have, wonderfully, our MR program. We have Karen here and the folks who work in her office in our economic development program. We have those incentives in place economically when the zones overlap with some of our existing zones. And so in a wonderful way, I think we can, in certain areas, articulate that additional capital stack that we can provide. They don't totally overlap together, so, but where they do, we can certainly deliver on that now. So I think with that, let me just say that as you walk out and the facility, or you drive out of the facility, look at that fence. Look at the dilapidated buildings on the side, and think about the fact that we have real sewer and water troubles in here, which is why we have portable bathrooms, et cetera. That's what we've got to fix. And so even that little stone building that used to be a fire station, that's also a good example. That whole end is what this money is going to go towards, and that is essentially the front face, right, of this entire project and facility. So not only do we have to do those for the right reasons with respect to infrastructure, but it's also going to send a big signal to Albuquerque and to New Mexico that change is finally happening at the rail yards. And so we really thank you for that. And let me lastly just thank the COG also. So our partners, you know, I just love, like, the COG gets stuff done, and so that they're like one of my favorite organizations to partner with because you guys move fast, and that is also what we like to do. So thank you so much for putting all this together and making this a reality for us. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Keller, also for helping me introduce the COG, my boss. So next I'd like to bring up the Executive Director of the Mid-Region Council of Governments, Mr. Dewey Cave.
Thank you, Gussie. Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure today to be able to talk about something that has such a positive impact on our entire region. Some of you may know that the Mid-Region Council of Governments is EDA's designated economic development district, serving 4 counties of Bernalillo, Valencia, Torrance, as well as Sandoval. In other words, we are the eyes and ears on the ground for locally for the EDA. And through our role as the district organization, and by the way, Dr. Fleming, we do have our SEDS update completed.
Excellent.
We worked with the city of Albuquerque as it's developed its application and made sure not only did it fit our local strategic planning process, but also that it met the goals of the EDA. It's no surprise to those of us who grew up here and know that the love the city has for the rail yard site and that it was chosen as an investment by EDA. After all, it was the economic engine of the city for so many years. Even today, our connection to the railroad continues to be vitally important as a key freight, and logistics corridor in our region and our state. Revitalizing the Albuquerque Rail Yards facility will bring a new economic vitality to the city, one not necessarily built on locomotives and freight as it used to be, but on the legacy that got us here today. We eagerly anticipate what new opportunities lie ahead, not only in the film, and entertainment, and arts industries, but other economic drivers that will be coming in the future with technology and mobility. And most especially, I want to thank Secretary Fleming and EDA for coming here and honoring us with this award. I am extremely grateful for the 50 years of partnership with EDA. It has been a long and solid partnership, and we've gotten many great things accomplished in our region. So thank you again, and thank all of you today for being here, and congratulations, City of Albuquerque and Mayor Keller.
Thank you, Dewey. We have a number of other people who'd like to speak from our federal and congressional delegation as well, and we're glad they could be here today. Let's begin with Bill Waldman, who is the field representative from U.S. Senator Tom Udall's office.
Thank you, and good morning. What an exciting day, and thank you to the EDA. As a member of the Appropriations and Commerce Committee, Senator Udall has been a long-time supporter of EDA and the work it does for the economic vitality of our communities. In recent years, the EDA supported infrastructure at the San Diego Science Technology Park, was instrumental in the construction of the Lobo Rainforest Building, and for the installation of important water lines for the Central New Mexico Rail Park in Berlin. The historic rail yards reconstruction is important not only for the economic growth of the city, but as important for the Borealis community, where many of the workers lived during its heyday. With CNM's commitment to bring film production program here, young people, and perhaps those not so young, will again be able to experience the vitality of this area of Albuquerque. So thank you again to the EDA, and congratulations to the city of Albuquerque.
Thanks, Bill. The next person I'd like to bring up is Rebecca Avitia, the Chief of Staff for U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich.
Thank you all. Good morning, and thank you for having me to say some words on behalf of the Senator. There are many people that he would like to thank and applaud. He was very proud to work with the federal delegation in helping to secure these funds for Albuquerque's redevelopment of the historic rail yards. He applauds Mayor Tim Keller for his commitment to this. There are plenty of political blogs that told us not to do it, and thankfully, Mayor Keller was in it for the community to make sure that this happened. We also want to thank Central New Mexico Community College, or CNM, for seeing the beauty in this place, as CNM does all of the time, seeing the beauty in people and places that the rest of us pass by, and CNM raises up to do amazing things. It is a perfect partnership to have you here. We are also incredibly proud of the staff that has made this happen. I think it is a New Mexico truism that when you talk to one person, should you not take them seriously, 20 more people will show up immediately and point out to you how seriously you should take them. There are people like Karen and Deirdre and Ann and so many others, and Alan, that are on this team, whether they're in the city or the county or in the congressional delegation, and we are here for what I think the mayor very correctly called an industrial cathedral, and from my time at the National Hispanic Cultural Center, I would call the heartbeat of Albuquerque is this place, and you cannot leave a heartbeat not pumping. When I was at the National Hispanic Cultural Center, I learned that an exhibit about the rail yards in Borealis was not only our first exhibit in that place, it was also the exhibit we chose to bring back to celebrate its 15th anniversary. When I would come and meet with the Borealis Neighborhood Community Coalition or the Neighborhood Association, they took this place so seriously, like the trains were still coming through and we were still doing that work. It was everything to them, and by extension, it has become everything to Albuquerque. I will say also a great big thank you to Assistant Secretary Fleming and to the administration for this investment. I was thinking as I was listening to you something that the Senator Heinrich tells us on his staff all the time, which is that there are going to be a long list of things that we don't agree on and won't agree on with this administration, but we can always agree on is the need for federal resources to lift up our communities. We appreciate your investment to do that. It has been an immense undertaking to make this happen, and very much so from the people in this community that showed up here and held rail yards markets when everyone else thought that was super dangerous, to the city administration being willing to sanction that and support it, to a mayoral candidate who was willing to make that part of his campaign, to a city councilor, Isaac Benton, who has protected and called for this place to continue to thrive for many, many years. The Senator is incredibly proud of this community and incredibly proud of this investment. I want to also tell you that he has made it a big part of what he is doing in this, his second term that the state has given him, to bring more federal dollars here. He wants and is being as tenacious as our very New Mexicans that he represents. And so what that means is, unlike many other of our colleagues, in DC, we now actually have a staff of 4 people whose sole job it is to get more federal dollars into this state, because we need to lift up this place that has an outsized impact on our country and continues to provide for its future, and he's very committed to doing that. In closing, I would say that Senator Heinrich will never stop fighting for this place, very specifically this amazing industrial cathedral and our New Mexicans. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next up, we have Joshua Jones, a field representative from U.S. Representative Deb Haaland's office.
Good morning, everybody. It's a little chilly, so I'm going to try to keep this brief. My name is Joshua Jones, and I'm a field rep and Wounded Warrior staff member for the Congresswoman Deb Haaland, and I wish to share a few remarks on her behalf on this occasion. As one of Albuquerque's oldest regions, Borealis holds great importance to our city's working class. The historic rail yards has been a center for the hard-working New Mexicans for the past century. During its bustling times in the 1920s, it is documented that the rail yard employed 25% of Albuquerque's workforce. This thriving industrial center was not immune to the decline experienced across American communities in the 70s and the 80s, suffered through horrendous infrastructure decisions and effectively choked out this historic and vibrant community. Now at the end of 2019, the rail yards have fewer jobs, but no less spirit. The community of Borealis is deeply rooted and strong. And thanks to this grant, the families of this community will see much needed resources and fuel the restoration and growth that reflects their passion and commitment to their neighborhood. With the receipt of the grant and other funding sources, the opportunities are vast. Our city has an anticipated 1,060 new jobs to employ New Mexican families. With the addition of Netflix, NBC Universal, and other film investments, we can show the real vibrancy of the region and the many artists that call New Mexico home. Upon the completion of the rail yard's revitalization project, the reinvigorated space will have the capacity to house various types of businesses while strengthening and stimulating economic growth here in New Mexico. The goal is to break the cycle of poverty and move into a state of abundance. I believe that poverty is the single greatest challenge New Mexico faces to date. High rates of poverty and unemployment have continually posed significant barriers here in New Mexico. By restoring the rail yards and breathing new life into the community, we now have the ability to add jobs that pay a living wage. When I was a young single mother, and this is Deb talking. Right. When I was a young single mother, I was trying to make ends meet. I started a small business making salsa. The opportunity was made possible in part by the critical mentorship from other women business owners who encouraged and believed in me. The confidence meant so much to me then, and today I feel great confidence in my neighbors here in Borealis. I believe wholeheartedly that this is a strong community. This is why all of us are here this morning, celebrating the success of today and the opportunities of tomorrow. It is up to us all, the local leaders and the community, to help move New Mexico forward and keep the momentum. Together, we need to continue to invest in our human capital, our creativity, our unrelenting drive to build a better future. I believe that the rail yard project is another step towards economic prosperity. And no, I will always fight for the betterment of New Mexico. Stay strong and be fierce. Best wishes, the Honorable Congresswoman Deb Haaland.
Thank you, Joshua. We've heard a lot of mention about C&M, and now we're going to hear from them. Samantha Sengel is the Vice President of Advancement and Enrollment Strategy for Central New Mexico Community College. Please help me welcome her.
Well, I know I am last between you and your warm car, so I will do the best I can to move along quickly. But I want to express how grateful I am that I had the opportunity this morning to follow Joshua. We are incredibly proud of what we do at C&M. And he represents exactly what CNN is all about, giving individuals an opportunity to add skills and training to their toolkit, to what they already bring to CNN when they arrive. Incredibly strong individuals that with a little bit of help, a little bit of extra, have an opportunity to go on and lead in their community and do incredible things. We're really proud of you, Joshua.
Thank you.
So thank you all this morning, and I'm just here to say thank you. Thank you to the Economic Development Administration for your investment. A federal investment in this project is incredibly important, as we have looked around and seen the state make an investment here. Our voters have approved bonds to invest in this site. Our community, our mayor has stepped up time and again. CNM is stepping forward to continue what we do, which is to grow the workforce, the skilled workforce for the opportunities in New Mexico. We have provided a skilled film production workforce for more than 15 years. Our program has been thriving, and the demand is there for us to provide more folks, more individuals to help this burgeoning industry become even more vital in New Mexico. So we are very excited. What will happen here at this site will happen as a result of a commitment of collaboration and partnership and incredible investments. So thank you, Dr. Fleming. Your investment adds to that, and we will all be able to see economic opportunity grow and prosper right here in New Mexico, at this site. So thank you all very much.